The quest for inner peace is not a passive wish, but an active construction, a fortress of the mind built brick by brick against the relentless sieges of external events and internal turmoil. At the gate of this fortress stands its most formidable adversary, anger. It is a fire that consumes logic, a storm that clouds judgment, and a poison that we voluntarily drink while hoping the other person suffers. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy forged in the crucibles of life's hardest challenges, offers not mere suppression techniques, but a complete architectural blueprint for a life undisturbed by such destructive passions. This journey begins not with battling the emotion the moment it erupts, but with a profound and unflinching understanding of its origins, its nature, and its true cost. To destroy anger, we must first know it intimately, not as an unavoidable part of being human, but as a fundamental error in judgment, a disease of perception that the Stoic mind is trained to cure. Anger, in the Stoic view, is not an inevitable reflex. It is not something that simply happens to us when someone cuts us off in traffic or when a colleague speaks to us disrespectfully. This is the first and most critical rule. Recognize that anger is a choice, not an inevitability. Between the external event, the trigger, and our heated response, there exists a space. In that space lies our power of judgment, our prohairesis, or faculty of choice. The event itself is neutral. It is our opinion about the event, our assessment that it is unfair, insulting, frustrating, or wrong, that fuels the fire. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, born a slave, laid this foundation clearly. It is not things that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. When we feel the initial surge of agitation, the Stoic practice is to pause and reclaim that space. To ask, what is my judgment here? What story am I telling myself about this person's intentions or this situation's meaning? By claiming ownership of this interpretive space, we strip the external world of its power to automatically dictate our internal state. This leads directly to the second foundational rule: distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. This is the core dichotomy of control, the bedrock of Stoic practice. Our judgments, our opinions, our desires, our aversions, and our actions, these are within our complete control. The actions of others, past events, traffic, the weather, reputation, wealth, health, these are not within our direct control. Anger almost always arises from a fundamental misapplication of this rule. We become furious because someone else did not act as we wished them to act. We are upset because a situation did not unfold according to our plan. In doing so, we are demanding that the world outside our control conform to the world inside our control. It is an irrational and exhausting rebellion against reality itself. The Stoic deliberately trains their mind to invest energy only in the internal sphere, cultivating correct judgment, virtue, and reasoned action. They meet the uncontrollable external world with acceptance, or at least a clear-eyed acknowledgement, rather than with futile resistance that metastasizes into anger. By internalizing this dichotomy, we stop issuing commands to the universe and begin to focus on our only true domain, our own character. Having understood that anger stems from our judgments and our confusion about control, we must next examine its true value, which is none. This is the third rule: judge anger as useless and irrational. Modern culture sometimes romanticizes anger as a source of motivation or strength, but Stoicism rejects this utterly. Seneca, who wrote extensively on anger in his work De Ire, called it the most hideous and frenzied of all the emotions. He argued that it is temporarily insane, devoid of reason, and ultimately weak. Does anger solve the problem? Rarely. It clouds the mind needed to navigate difficulty. Does it protect our relationships? It burns them. Does it make us feel better? It leaves a residue of shame and agitation. Does it punish the other person? It primarily punishes us, corroding our peace from the inside. The Stoic conducts a simple cost-benefit analysis. Anger offers the fleeting, bitter satisfaction of self-righteousness, but robs us of clarity, virtue, and tranquility. By preemptively judging it as a worthless and destructive passion, we weaken its perceived legitimacy. We begin to see it not as a powerful force, but as a foolish one, a tantrum of the soul that a rational adult should be ashamed to indulge. The final piece of the foundational understanding is to prepare the mind before the storm hits. This is the fourth rule, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. We are often so blindsided and angered by events because we implicitly expect the world to be cooperative, people to be polite, and plans to proceed smoothly. The Stoic actively inoculates themselves against this fragile expectation by regularly rehearsing potential difficulties. Each morning, they contemplate not just the day's tasks, but the possible obstacles, the rude encounter, the failed project, the ungrateful response. This is not pessimistic worrying. It is strategic preparation. By visualizing these challenges calmly in advance, we depersonalize them and strip them of their element of surprise. When the event then occurs, the response is not, "This is terrible and shouldn't be happening," but rather, "This is the kind of challenge I rehearsed for. Here is my chance to practice patience, to exercise my understanding of what I can and cannot control." The anger that springs from shattered entitlement has no room to grow when the mind is already fortified with realistic acceptance. The day becomes a field for the practice of virtue, not a series of personal affronts. These four initial rules form the cornerstone of the Stoic fortress. They are the intellectual groundwork that must be laid before any specific tactic can be effective. To summarize, we must see anger as our own chosen judgment, not an imposed feeling. We must rigorously confine our efforts to our sphere of control, releasing our demand that externals obey us. We must consciously devalue anger, seeing it as the enemy of our own reason and peace. And we must prepare our minds through disciplined visualization to meet life's inevitable irritations with composed readiness, not volatile surprise. This foundation transforms the landscape. Anger is no longer a mysterious monster that possesses us, but a flawed conclusion built on faulty premises. With this understanding firmly in place, we can move to the next stage of construction, the daily practices and mental disciplines that train our initial, automatic impressions, ensuring that the spark of agitation never finds the tinder of mistaken judgment to ignite into a destructive blaze. The battle for inner peace is won or lost in these first milliseconds of perception, and it is there that Stoicism directs its most precise and powerful tools. Stoic Path to Inner Peace, a guide to disarming anger. With the foundation laid, understanding anger as a chosen judgment, based on a misalignment with reality, the practical work of building inner peace begins. This work happens not in the heat of the raging fire, but in the critical fleeting moment after the spark appears. The Stoics called this the doctrine of phantasii, or impressions. An impression is the initial data from the senses combined with a subconscious automatic interpretation. Someone makes a cutting remark. The impression is not merely the sound of the words. It is the instantaneous pre-rational feeling, "I have been wronged." The entire Stoic art of managing emotions rests on mastering this micro-moment. The second set of rules focuses on this discipline of perception, training ourselves to intercept and examine these automatic interpretations before they harden into destructive judgments and the full-blown passion of anger. The fifth rule is the master key to this discipline. Pause and insert a gap between impression and assent. When the feeling of insult, frustration, or injustice first strikes, the untrained mind immediately assents to it. It accepts the initial impression as full, complete, and accurate truth. The Stoic trains to break this chain. At the very instant you feel the blood rise, you must consciously create a mental pause. Take a deep breath. Count to 10. Physically step back if possible. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, in his private journal Meditations, constantly reminded himself, "The first step, don't be panicked. Nothing lasts forever." This pause is not passive. It is the activation of your inner citadel. It is the moment you reclaim your sovereignty from the automatic pilot of emotion. In that space, you move from being a reactor to being an observer. You create the room to ask the fundamental Stoic question: is this impression within my control? Is my peace of mind truly held hostage by this event, or am I handing it over voluntarily? This simple, deliberate interruption of the habitual thought-emotion pathway is the single most powerful technique for disarming anger before it arms itself. Once you have created this pause, you must immediately employ the sixth rule. Examine the impression with ruthless objectivity. Do not trust your first feeling, interrogate it. Seneca advised, "The best remedy for anger is delay. Use the delay to dissect the impression. Ask, what are the bare facts stripped of my story? Someone's car merged aggressively into my lane. The fact, a vehicle changed position. My impression, that reckless idiot is disrespecting me and endangering my life." See the vast gulf between the two. The Stoic practice is to consciously shrink the fact back to its neutral, objective core. This is an exercise in depersonalization. The other driver is not an idiot. They are a human being who is likely rushed, distracted, or poor at driving. Their action was not a personal affront to you. You are merely a background character in the story of their hectic day. Marcus Aurelius practiced this relentlessly. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." By objectively examining the impression, you drain it of its emotional charge. You see the action as a phenomenon of the world, not a targeted attack on yourself. Closely linked to this objective examination is the seventh rule. Practice empathy and see from the other's view. Anger thrives on a narrative of our own victimhood and the other's malice. Empathy is the tool that shatters this narrative. Make a conscious effort to understand why the person might have acted that way. Perhaps the colleague who snapped at you is facing immense private stress, is fearful about their job, or is simply in pain. As Epictetus said, "When someone seems to have provoked you, remember that it is your own opinion that has provoked you. Try to trace the action back to its root in their own ignorance, fear, or mistaken pursuit of what they think is good." This is not about excusing bad behavior, but about understanding its source. When you see that people act poorly not out of a desire to harm you specifically, but out of their own confusion, weakness, or suffering, the appropriate response often shifts from anger to pity, or at least to a detached clarity. You realize they are harming themselves with their own poor character. This perspective, which the Stoics called sympathia, a sense of mutual interdependence, dissolves the illusion of personal persecution. It reminds you that the wrongdoer is first and foremost wrong about life, and their error has incidentally affected you. Having paused, examined, and empathized, you now apply the eighth rule, memento mori. Remember you will die, and so will they. This famous Stoic meditation is often misunderstood as morbid. In the context of anger, it is perhaps the most potent perspective shifter imaginable. When you are locked in a heated argument, fuming over an insult, or brooding over a slight, bring the vastness of time and the certainty of death into the frame. In 100 years, both you and the person who angered you will be dust. This insult, this frustration, this rivalry, what will it matter then? Marcus Aurelius asked himself, "Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now, and those to come." This is not meant to foster nihilism, but to instill a sense of profound proportion. Is this momentary aggravation worth the precious finite currency of your life force? Is this argument worth the irreplaceable time of your existence, which is slipping away with every breath? Memento mori shrinks trivial irritations to their true microscopic size. It forces the question, on my deathbed, will I look back with pride on how righteously angry I was in this traffic jam? Or will I wish I had maintained my peace and directed my energy toward what truly mattered? It anchors you to what is eternal, the brevity of life, and in doing so, liberates you from what is ephemeral, the present annoyance. These 4 rules of perception, pausing, examining objectively, empathizing, and remembering mortality, constitute a daily mental workout. They are not invoked only in crisis, but practiced in calm moments to strengthen the mind's reflexes. The goal is to forge a new default setting, where the untrained mind sees a personal insult. The trained Stoic mind sees a neutral event, a fellow human acting from ignorance, and a reminder of life's fleeting nature. This reframing is not a suppression of feeling. It is a correction of a cognitive error. The initial spark of physiological reaction may still occur. Stoics are not robots, but it lands on wet tinder, not dry kindling. It flickers and dies out for lack of a sustaining narrative. By mastering the discipline of perception, we build an inner firewall. We ensure that the countless minor irritations of daily life are processed and neutralized before they can accumulate into the slow-burning resentment or sudden explosions that destroy our peace. Having secured the gates of perception, we then turn our attention inward to the next layer of defense, the rigorous governance of our own internal dialogue and the stories we tell ourselves, which is the true breeding ground for sustained anger. The fortress of inner peace, having secured its outer walls through the disciplined interception of first impressions, now faces a more subtle and persistent threat, the enemy within. Even after we have paused and examined an initial impression objectively, the mind has a notorious capacity for storytelling. It can take a neutral fact and, through a cascade of internal dialogue, build a towering narrative of grievance, injustice, and righteous indignation. This is where the spark, if not fully extinguished, can smolder and reignite. The 3rd set of Stoic rules, therefore, addresses the discipline of assent. This is the practice of rigorously governing what we ultimately agree to believe, the stories we tell ourselves, and the judgments we allow to take root in our minds. It is about mastering the inner narrative so that anger cannot find fertile soil in which to grow. The 9th rule is the cornerstone of this internal governance. Challenge the should and embrace is. A primary engine of anger is the gap between our expectations of how the world should operate and the stark reality of how it actually operates. We tell ourselves, "They shouldn't have spoken to me like that. This line should be moving faster. My plan should have worked out." Every should directed at an external event we cannot control is a setup for frustration. The Stoic deliberately replaces this irrational demand with a clear-eyed acceptance of is. Epictetus was characteristically blunt. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish, but wish for everything to happen as it actually does happen, and your life will be serene. This is the essence of the amor fati, love of fate concept, later emphasized by Nietzsche, but born in Stoic thought. When you encounter an obstacle or an offense, instead of railing against it with internal shoulds, practice stating the reality calmly. This person is speaking harshly. That is what is happening. The traffic is stopped. That is the current reality. By assenting only to the fact, and withholding assent from your preferential judgment about the fact, you deny anger its intellectual fuel. You align your will with the unfolding of the cosmos itself, rather than fighting a lonely, exhausting war against it. Once we stop fueling anger with our shoulds, we must actively construct a counter-narrative. This is the 10th rule. Reframe obstacles into opportunities for virtue, the art of turning. The Stoic does not see a frustrating person or a blocked goal as a mere nuisance. They see it as the raw material for practicing their philosophy. This is where the theoretical becomes practical. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This transformative reframing is a conscious act of internal storytelling. When insulted, the opportunity is to practice patience, forbearance, and understanding to demonstrate that your character cannot be shaken by another's poor behavior. When a project fails, the opportunity is to practice resilience, wisdom in analyzing causes, and courage in starting anew. Every external event that might typically trigger anger is recategorized in the mind as a training exercise. The question shifts from, why is this happening to me? To what virtue is this situation asking of me? By assenting to this empowering narrative, you transform the role of the offender from a persecutor to an unwitting training partner, offering you a chance to strengthen your patience, your courage, or your justice. Anger becomes irrelevant, even absurd, in the face of such a challenge. You are too engaged in the active work of building your character to waste energy on burning it down with rage. To sustain this reframing, we must diligently manage the company we keep at our own heads. This leads to the 11th rule: curtail inner narration and negative self-talk. Anger is often sustained and amplified by a relentless, unchecked internal monologue. We replay the insult, imagine cutting retorts, envision scenarios of confrontation or comeuppance. This mental rehearsing is like pouring gasoline on a dying ember. Seneca warned, "Anger, an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured." The Stoic practice is to apply the same discipline of assent to this internal chatter as to external impressions. When you catch yourself in a loop of angry narration, you must consciously interrupt it. Do not assent to its continuation. Marcus Aurelius gave himself direct commands. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate and the present, or to suspect the future. The technique is to replace the angry narrative with a pre-prepared rational one. Recite a Stoic maxim to yourself. This person's error is their own. My peace does not depend on this. I choose my response. Alternatively, force your mind to a completely different neutral topic. The key is to recognize that this internal narration is not an innocent bystander. It is the very mechanism of anger's persistence. By refusing to assent to its repetitive, inflammatory script, you silence the voice that insists you have been wronged and must remain aggrieved. Finally, the discipline of assent requires a profound, preemptive judgment about what we value most. The 12th rule is, anchor your worth to your character, not to external opinions or events. A major source of enduring anger is wounded pride. We feel disrespected, undervalued, or insulted because we have tied our self-worth to how others treat us or to outcomes we cannot fully control. The Stoic unties this knot with surgical precision. Your worth, your arete, excellence or virtue, resides solely in the quality of your choices, your judgments, and your actions, all things within your control. If someone insults you, they are offering an opinion. To assent to the belief that their opinion defines you or can damage you is to hand them the keys to your inner citadel. Epictetus posed a legendary question. If someone handed your body over to just any person who met you, you would be furious. Yet you hand over your mind to anyone who comes along, so they may abuse you, leaving it disturbed and troubled. Aren't you ashamed of that? When you are firmly anchored in the knowledge that your worth is internal and unimpeachable, built on your honesty, integrity, and good faith efforts, external slings and arrows simply cannot stick. They are revealed as judgments of someone who lacks full information or virtue themselves. Anger at an insult becomes illogical. It would be like getting angry at the rain for being wet. You may not enjoy it, but you understand its nature and protect yourself accordingly, without raging at the sky. Mastering the discipline of assent is the work of a lifetime. It involves constantly editing the script of your mind, challenging deep-seated beliefs, and consciously choosing the story that serves your tranquility and virtue. It means replacing "this is terrible and shouldn't be" with "this is reality, how can I use it?" It means silencing the inner victim and empowering the inner philosopher. By rigorously governing what we agree to believe about ourselves and the world, we ensure that even if a spark of initial agitation slips past our perceptual defenses, it finds no sustaining narrative, no flammable story of shoulds and wounded pride to set ablaze. The mind becomes a well-ordered, quiet space. With this internal governance in place, we are ready for the final proactive stage, constructing a life and a character so resilient, so aligned with nature and virtue that anger finds no foothold at all, and inner peace becomes not just a fleeting state, but a stable and enduring trait. The final stage of the Stoic journey from anger to peace is not merely defensive or corrective. It is profoundly constructive. Having learned to intercept destructive impressions and govern our internal narratives, we now turn from the work of dismantling anger to the greater work of building a character that is inherently resistant to it. This is the cultivation of the prohairesis, the ruling faculty, into an unshakable citadel. The rules in this final chapter move beyond reactive techniques to proactive, holistic living. They guide us in forging a life so anchored in virtue, purpose, and alignment with nature that anger becomes a foreign concept, an echo from a former self. This is the embodiment of Stoicism, not just thinking like a philosopher in moments of crisis, but living as one in every moment. The 13th rule is the bedrock of this construction. Cultivate virtue as the sole good. For the Stoic, the ultimate aim of life is to live in accordance with virtue, with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, comfort, is classified as a preferred indifferent. It has value and can be pursued, but it is not good in the moral sense, as its possession does not make one virtuous, nor its absence make one vicious. This philosophical prioritization is the ultimate antidote to anger. Why? Because anger almost always arises when a preferred indifferent is threatened or denied. Our comfort is disturbed, our reputation is slighted, our plans are blocked. If we have mistakenly elevated these indifferents to the status of goods, their loss feels like a cosmic injustice, a genuine harm that merits an angry response. But if our true good is our own virtue, which is entirely within our control and cannot be taken by any external event, then there is nothing to threaten. If someone ruins your reputation, they have taken a preferred indifferent, but they cannot touch your justice or your courage. If a project fails, you have lost a desired outcome, but your wisdom in the attempt remains intact. By reorienting your entire value system to prize only the excellence of your own character, you inoculate yourself against the perceived injuries that fuel anger. Your inner peace is secured not by the world being kind, but by your own unassailable moral core. To support this virtuous life, we must curate our environment with intention. This leads to the 14th rule: mind your associations and curate your input. While a Stoic aims to be unmoved by external chaos, they are not foolish. They understand that the mind is shaped by what it consumes, and prolonged exposure to agitation breeds an agitated spirit. Seneca advised, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." This applies to both people and media. Be ruthless in assessing your social and informational diet. Do you spend time with people who are chronically complaining, who thrive on drama, who provoke competition and resentment? Do you consume media news, social media, entertainment that is engineered to provoke outrage, fear, and indignation? These are not neutral inputs. They are a constant, low-grade training in poor judgment and emotional reactivity. They fill your mind with narratives of conflict, unfairness, and tribalism, priming you for anger. The Stoic deliberately chooses associations that model tranquility, reason, and virtue. They limit exposure to the outrage machine of modern media. They understand that guarding the gates of the mind is a daily discipline. By curating a serene and rational input stream, you create an internal environment where the seeds of anger struggle to sprout and the fruits of peace can flourish. A serene character is not built in abstraction. It is forged through consistent, humble action. The 15th rule is, practice voluntary discomfort and embrace simplicity. This is the principle of ascesis training. By periodically and willingly choosing to forego comforts, taking a cold shower, skipping a meal, wearing simpler clothes, walking instead of driving, you achieve two critical objectives for disarming anger. First, you build resilience. You prove to yourself that your happiness does not depend on perfect external conditions. When you voluntarily experience minor hardship, The involuntary hardships imposed by life lose their power to shock and upset you. The driver who cuts you off is a triviality compared to the cold shower you chose that morning. Second, you weaken the sense of entitlement that is anger's breeding ground. Anger often whispers, "I deserve better than this." By practicing voluntary discomfort, you dismantle the unconscious belief that you are owed a life of seamless ease. You come to see comforts as gracious gifts, not guaranteed rights. This cultivates a profound gratitude for what you have and a calm acceptance when it is absent. As Marcus Aurelius noted, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. By embracing simplicity and occasionally challenging your own comfort, you starve the entitled ego that feels justified in its rage. The final, all-encompassing rule is the 16th. View your life as a service and your anger as a dereliction of duty. The Stoics sees themselves not as an isolated self, but as a part of a greater whole, the human community, cosmopolis, and the rational cosmos. From this perspective, your primary purpose is to act with virtue for the common good. Anger is not just a personal failing, it is a social one. When you succumb to anger, you become a source of chaos and harm in the network of humanity. You fail in your duty to contribute reason, fairness, and stability. Epictetus framed it as a divine mandate. What is your vocation? To be a good human being. And a good human being, in a moment of provocation, is called to respond with justice, fair assessment, courage, facing the difficulty, temperance, moderation in response, and wisdom, understanding the true nature of the event. To respond with anger is to abandon your post. This macro view drains petty irritations of their significance. Is your personal pique over a slow barista more important than your duty to be a respectful, patient member of society? Is your road rage worth compromising your role as a rational agent in the world? By seeing your life as an opportunity for service through virtuous action, every interaction becomes a chance to fulfill your purpose. Anger becomes not just unattractive, but a profound betrayal of your reason for being. This quartet of constructive rules completes the Stoic architecture for inner peace. You have built a self whose worth is anchored in the inviolable realm of virtue, Rule 13. You protect that self by wisely curating the influences that reach it, Rule 14. You strengthen it through deliberate practice and the humbling of entitlement, Rule 15. And you give it profound meaning by aligning its actions with a duty to the common good, Rule 16. This is the master of inner peace. They are not someone who never feels a flicker of irritation. They are someone whose character is so solid, whose perspective is so vast, and whose purpose is so clear that irritation cannot become anger, and anger cannot find a home. The journey from the first rule, seeing anger as a choice, to this final state, is the journey from slavery to freedom. It is the realization that the only thing you ever truly needed to destroy was not the external provocations, but the internal belief that they could destroy you. By living these principles daily, you cease to master anger through force and begin to transcend it through wisdom. You achieve not a fragile, quiet stillness, but a dynamic, unshakable peace, the serene flourishing of a life lived in accordance with nature and virtue.